start. I don't know what to do with my hands.
Yeah.
just keep them here.
Dustin podcast, real good.
Oh, we're gonna get along real well. This is gonna be great.
It's gonna be great.
Yeah.
What is up, everyone, and welcome back to Whiskey and Windage, the 2A podcast for the people by the people. I am your host, Matt, and I'm joined with my co-hosts, alive and in the flesh. We got Mike and Adam. How are we doing, gentlemen?
Man, doing good. It's.
I'm alive.
I'd sure
I'm
hope
in the
so.
flesh.
I'd sure hope so. It's a little bit different dynamic. I think most of our viewers, maybe not everybody watches, but most of our viewers are not used to seeing us all sit right next to each other.
No. If the viewers are watching, though.
That's what I'm saying. Most of our viewers
Who do watch?
Yeah. All of them watch.
Some listen in the car and their phones
some
won't
just
let them
listen
work.
to it. So if you actually watch the whole video, we're not always sitting right next to each other.
Yeah, it just kind of goes to show that Adam doesn't
I watch.
necessarily know our demographic.
It's all right. He's not the brightest, but he sure is cute.
Yeah.
So.
I'll take it.
I don't know. Seeing him in person, I mean, it just lets me know how many filters are actually used. Yeah, but yeah, man, it looks like it's been a fun couple days that are starting to wrap up. We've done lots of filming. We got a really cool guest tonight. Going to be a really fun one.
Stoked.
Yeah. So, Adam, you want to introduce who our guest is while he's loading in?
Yeah. Dustin Sanchez from Real Avid. Super excited. Competitive shooter as well.
Yeah.
And we're excited. We have a bunch of tools out here as well. We're stoked. I mean,
yeah.
let's do
It looks like he's just about in. So, what last thing? You got anything?
You know I got it, babe. Let's friggin' go, dude.
We interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
All right, guys, and for our 2A segment of the podcast, we are joined by Dustin Sanchez from Real Avid. Dustin, how's it going, man?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, man, we were so excited when we had the opportunity to get you guys on because, you know, we're a podcast that talks to all the manufacturers, all of the influencers, all of the people in the industry with the point of getting the information to the consumers and humanize these brands and also these guys so, you know, people feel comfortable when they're out making purchases or doing all this stuff. But regardless of if you're an AK goon like this guy or, you know, you're into M4s and ARs over here, everybody needs tools.
Correct. Yeah.
Everybody needs tools.
I mean, he needs like a chisel and like a.
Well, I mean, yeah, AK guys don't really need tools. They need like
A hammer and a bench grinder
and a torch.
They don't need targets either because they're not accurate. They won't ever hit anything.
I like him already.
I love this.
Sorry, Matt.
It's all right. It's all right. So yeah, man. So Real Avid is, I guess, the best way to start this because I love the advertising, I love the marketing, I love the branding. Everything that they've done has been really, really top notch, and it's really taken the 2A community and the gunsmiths and everything by storm because, you know, for the longest time, everything was wooden handled. And it looked like stuff your grandpa did. Now, while that stuff still works perfectly fine and there's no problems, everything looks, you know, I guess the best way to put it, man, everything looks sexy. But on top of that, you are coming out with some certain tools and certain innovations and twists on tools that have now become a standard. You know, why don't you talk about Real Avid for a minute?
Yeah. Well, for the listeners and people viewing and watching, you know, Real Avid started in 2008. And the first thing they came out with was a multi-tool that could kind of do everything from hunting to going to the range and tinkering. And they just wanted to make something that would work for, you know, everybody. And, you know, it took it a couple of years. It took about 4 years for it to really take off. But in 2012, They won the Golden Bullet from NRA, and after that, Real Avid really blew up to go from 2012 to having maybe 1 to 4 SKUs to now we're going into 2025. SHOT Show 2025 is already in my head, so we're going into 2025, and there we'll probably have a total of 276 SKUs or products total. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's amazing. So I guess the best way, the multi-tool, of course, a multi-tool isn't always necessarily a multi-tool, but in your opinion, what do you think, which tool really, I know we're going to get into stuff like the Vise, we're going to get into all these things, but what tool or what kit really put you guys on the map, in your opinion, when you got started?
Oh yeah, so really where Real Avid really broke in and started changing things was when we came out with our Armor's Master Kit. Now that was like just a very, in my opinion now, looking at everything we have, it was a very like entry market, basic set of tools that you would need if you were going to build an AR or do any type of modification. So, it has we call it the Armor's Master Wrench, which would work as it's got a castle nut on there, barrel nut wrench on there. It would work for your Delta ring style hand guards, but it also doubles as a hammer. Then we have the punches. We have our lug lock, which is an aluminum rod that goes into an upper receiver and locks into your barrel extension. Then we also had our Vise block, a couple little tools like that was actually made for somebody that owned an AR, where you could mount an optic, do maintenance, build a complete AR, strip it down if you needed to, you want to get it Cerakoted or anything like that. So I think that kit, in my opinion, now if you ask the owners, they may disagree with that, but in my opinion, that was like the kit that really put Real Avid on that market where it became a household name for a lot of people out there.
No, I agree, and here's why I agree with that, because during COVID, I already was in guns, but we know during COVID, firearms purchasing became a thing, and I had more time on my hands because we're stuck at home, and that was a purchase I made. I made the kit. I bought the Real Avid Armors kit because I was kind of bored, and I started building more ARs at home because I was buying more stuff. And I can tell you, like, the kit's awesome. The one thing about that kit, you mentioned the block, and I can tell you this block right here has saved my butt because I've dropped many pins, as we all have. We all know that the on all fours trying to find a pin is painful, and having that magnet in the bottom and just flip it over, like, boom, it's there. It saved me so many times.
Yeah. And that's a cool thing about Real Avid is like, when I see some of these things, I'm like, well, duh, why hasn't somebody done that? But in all reality, like when we're in the firearm space, we get stuck in this box of like, well, this is how so-and-so did it back in the day, so this is how it has to be. But here at Real Avid, a lot of our product development guys, though they are gun guys, they're all car guys. And so that really allows them, Real Avid to be thinking outside of the box, because these guys don't come in and build ARs, build pistols, or all of that stuff. They're over here working on cars, building cars, and then they can take all the stuff they see within cars and bring it into the firearm industry. And now you get company, tools like that and other products that we have that really make Real Avid who we are.
Yeah, I think so. And one of the key features that it's important to me is on that master kit, it comes in a case. Yeah. I'm notorious, and if anybody watching this, Adam, you're gonna get it. Yeah. So yeah, we got one right here.
Okay, good, because I'm like I see them all across my room, but yeah.
But what I think is important is anybody that is a tinkerer that works. If you have a 10 millimeter in your, if you have a 10 or a 7 in your toolbox, you're lying. Yeah, because everybody loses them. And even though we have a toolbox to put these things in, we still don't make it back. But with this, with the size of this and the easy transportation, I can put everything in it. I can throw it in the truck to go to the range. Yep. I can set it up on the counter in my kitchen if that's the space I have to work, or on the coffee table while I'm watching a movie, whatever it may be. I've got this stuff and it's all together. And when something's missing, it's missing.
Yeah, and a lot of our product development guys, and there's times like, we want to get a product out, let's say September, and we may be like 3 weeks late on that date, which to some people are like, well, that 3 weeks isn't bad, and we're over here like 3 weeks was horrible for us because we missed this meeting with this product, we missed this meeting with the product. But it comes down to that design where the PD guy, somebody within the PD, which is our product development, is just like, this item needs to have this type of feel to it. It needs to be a kit. It needs to have some kind of storage built in, and it's for reasons like that, because we all lose stuff. I worked for Caterpillar for years, and I had a service truck I drove around in, and I used to keep all the trays I got from Snap-on, that all the original sockets and everything came in.
Yep.
Because without that, I lost it. My drawers were so small, I couldn't use those socket extensions or
For sure.
stand-up ones. So I really enjoy it. I like it, and I think there's a lot more people out there that can relate to the storage within a lot of our kits that we have for that reason.
I think your kits are killing it in the fact, like, I know I'm an AK guy, but I've totally assembled quite a few ARs, and especially the first time, it seems like a very daunting task to a beginner. And you're like, okay, what do I need? Okay, I got all the parts. Now what do I need to put these parts together? And there's ways to do it with very minimal tools, but there's also tools that make the entire process way easier. But if you go to just look for a list, or especially years back, because of Real Avid, it's easy now to get a whole comprehensive kit, but it used to be like, oh, you got to go find this punch. You got to go find this tool. You got to go find this hammer. You also have to have an armorer's wrench. And so you had to build it all together, and by the end of it, it wasn't fun anymore. And now you're 2 times the price of this budget build that you wanted to do in your living room to learn the process. And you've got this big bag of really expensive tools, and it also makes it more approachable for a hobbyist. If my career isn't going to be in gunsmithing, maybe I don't have a huge budget to buy thousands of dollars of these like really expensive expensive tools.
It's not a kit. You're creating your kit.
Exactly. Yeah, you got to build your own kit. And so I think it's obviously a masterpiece of marketing to pull it all together so that the average Joe could hop online, one place, order it in, find it at their local gun store, buy it, go home, and actually have fun building their rifle.
Yeah. The cool thing about that is, and I don't think, at least I know I don't ever throw this out there enough, or maybe it doesn't ever really have to be talked about, but some of the ideas do come from the fact that, like, we want to have a bigger shelf space at Shills or Bass Pro or Cabela's. Well, the only way to do that is to kit this stuff up and make it present extremely well, so that the buyer, when he comes in, he looks at it, he's like, I have to have this in my store because it's got great marketing, it's on brand, but it's a good price and has everything that a new AR guy would want. And so our product development guys put a lot into it, but sometimes it comes down to, like, how can we get this to sell better at retail with all of these tools in there? And that drives some of the design as well.
Yeah, I find it interesting because Matt was talking about some of these tools that come up that are purpose built for a specific application during the build. And while every one of us here is very, very experienced in putting together, we'll just say the AR. Okay. It's pretty simple. Us here feel confident, give me some vice grips and a flathead screwdriver and a couple other tools, and I can get one done.
Yeah.
But to the average guy, or the guy that doesn't want to scratch their finish or damage the finish, or the guy that's never done this before and just watched their first YouTube video or whatever, things like the AR pivot pin tool.
That's worth its weight in gold. Yes.
Yeah.
Front pivot
Yeah, I
pin,
mean,
the first
now-
time
Yeah.
you did it?
Yeah, I was
man.
like, can all of us agree we've done it for many years before this thing came out?
Yes.
But at the same time, if I have one within arm's reach of me when I'm going to assemble, I'd be silly if I didn't use it.
Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. Well, so this is cool. So the AR pin, the pivot pin tool, when it was created, I was actually building rifles for JP Enterprises.
Okay.
And I'd been doing some contracting for Real Avid, and they called me and they're like, hey, can you come over here? We want to just see you put in a bunch of pivot pins. And I was like, sure. So I came over and I brought my tools from JP, and I'm like throwing this thing together, and these guys are looking, they're like, that looks way too complicated. But in my head, I was like, It was super simple, fast, right?
Correct.
So they made the pivot pin tool, and then this past year we came out with the pivot pin tool Pro. Can you go to? Sorry, I got my camera guy here. Can you go to
You're
camera
good. You're way more
3?
professional than us. Oh man, look at
dang.
this.
Wow, that's way nicer.
So, couple of cool things about this is that the biggest complaint we got on our original pivot pin tool was that it was plastic. So after you used it for a while, it would tend to break. So we came out with this one. It's aluminum, been powder coated, so it won't mar. And then it operates just the exact same way. It's just a little bigger, feels a bit better in your hand. It's got a couple of cool little designs in here. But another thing that we wanted to add to it was if you're taking your pivot pin tool out so you can Cerakote your rifle or something, we actually took a disassembly tool in there, and it actually has a flat cut on there, so it sinks a little bit deeper in there and pushes the pin flat, and then you can roll it out and pull everything out.
I still have a Gen 1. Mine is not that cool.
Mine is
Well,
red and plastic.
I'll tell you this, Dustin. You mentioned something, and I'll testify to this. I don't think they know this. I actually had that problem. I broke mine, and
Yep.
I did. But here's the thing: I called up Real Avid. I had a new one. They didn't want the old one back. They're like, no problem. They said, I think within a week I had a new one. So the fact that it didn't even matter, your warranty was awesome on it. So yeah, there was an issue with it. However,
Yeah.
guys always fix the issue.
Yeah. So not only do I do marketing and then I do product management, I also handle customer service here. So that has been one of those things. It's like in the firearm space, any type of space like that. Like I feel like if somebody puts their money into your tool and it breaks or something like that during use that should have been prevented, like just replace it. Just get it taken care of right away, because that customer, like that's how you build loyalty. That's how you build brand with consumers.
No, you're
Just
right.
taking care of
And that
them.
goes like, because there's no perfect product out there. Things break. Like when things,
Yep.
I don't care what it is, how great you think your product is. Things happen.
If
But
you use it enough.
right.
If you use
You're
it,
it's gonna happen. But however, it's how the company responds to it. That's how I look at it. And like you're one of those companies when I message you, great customer service, got a new one right away. There was no problem. So that's how I look at the companies. Like how do they respond to an issue?
Yeah.
That warranty is really important. I think in the 2A space, people are understanding that things will break. I mean, guns go boom. There's lots of pressures.
Yep.
Tools can break. Everything's made out of metal. But there is a really high expectation for warranty.
Yep.
And the community will tear you up if you don't live up to that. And so
Yeah. Well,
good on you guys.
I mean, I look at it this way. I've been very blessed, with my career in the firearm space, from being a competitor to working in the space. So I look at, like, I remember when I first started competing in 3-gun, how it took me 6 months to save up for a rifle that would actually allow me to truly compete in 3-gun. So like I look at, like, if something goes down, I know that there's somebody else out there that was like me that put everything they had for 6 months into savings just to be able to afford like their first like AR for competition or whatever it is. So at least I can do is, pay that forward and say, hey, look, man, like I understand our tool broke. Very sorry to hear that, but let's get you taken care of so you can get back out to the range and have a good time.
Yeah, and you do the competitive. You do 3-gun. You also do a lot of pistol, right?
So I cut my teeth in 3-gun. So I did that for 10 years, so a complete decade. And then I moved into long range shooting. I did that for 2.5 years. I still play around with that. But this year, about 3 months ago, I made the decision that I was going to go from unclassified and USPSA within PCC, which is pistol caliber carbine, to classified by January 1st. So I gave myself 6 months. But I didn't only want to just be classified as a GM. I wanted to be able to compete with like Max Lee Grandis, Josh Freilich, Andre Dizitel, guys like that are finishing in the top 5 all the time. So, yeah.
Yeah. So, I understand that you are a representative of Real Avid. Also understand that you are a competitor. So there is going to always be the guy in the comments that's going to say, oh, he's biased. Oh, he's biased. And yeah, of course he is. I mean, they pay him. But at the same time, you still use these tools in your bag.
I do.
Yeah. And I mean, and maybe you have one or two things that you've just kept forever and ever that aren't Real Avid. Maybe you don't, but we're all creatures of habit. But
Yeah.
not only are these things, good for the weekend warrior per se, these tools are good for everybody.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah. I mean, you bring up a lot of times, because, I have people like, well, you work there or you've been sponsored. Really, I came across Real Avid in 2014, and I approached Real Avid because I came across one of their multi-tools that I loved, and I was hosting an event, and I was like, hey, I'd really like to buy a bunch of these tools so I could give them out as door prizes for people that were coming in. And they just sponsored the event, and just sent all of those tools over. They sent like 25 of these tools over for me to give out as, door prizes. And so like my loyalty really came in there. But now if you look at where I'm at now, I've been developing the roadmap for Real Avid for the past year and a half roughly. So I actually know the complete roadmap all the way up to 2030. So a lot of the stuff,
Come on.
yeah, right. A lot of the stuff that I'm pushing in trying to get out there now it's not just because it's like Real Avid pays me and I believe in the brand. I only believe that Real Avid is the company that can truly meet the goals of some of the product standards that I've set to get them out to the consumers like you guys. So at the end of the day, when you're out there doing whatever it is you're doing, you have exactly what you need for that job. So you can get your firearm back up and running, or you can clean it, or you can build it, whatever it is you're wanting to do. We make sure we're there for you.
Yeah, well, I mean, I look at that as equivalent of, any tool. You can walk in a box store and you can go to the Home Depot, the Lowe's, the whatever, and you can buy a hammer. Well, a hammer, one could say a hammer is a hammer is a hammer. Hammer's a hammer, big deal. Buy one. But even still to this day, technology and advancements are coming. You're using different alloys. You're using different materials. You're doing different weights. You're doing weighted. You're doing different sizes. So the tool constantly evolves. So while certain tools don't change, the opportunity to improve others change. And I think that you guys are a testament to that. I mean, you're doing stuff. I mean, I see what you're holding, and I mean, I said a hammer's a hammer, and you did it. But we started with this one. I mean,
Which is a great one.
is a great one. I mean,
yeah, that one's good. Can you go to camera 2, please?
Yeah, that thing is awesome.
Yeah, so this is our new Armor's Master hammer, and it's funny because you're like, a hammer is a hammer. So we had a smaller hammer, and I liked it, but I wanted a heavier hammer. I wanted something that could do more. So we came out with this guy. So we've got our interchangeable hammerheads, just like you see with our Armor's Master Wrench. So you can change out all your hammerheads here. But we also put a bigger rubber grommet on the end that pops off to give you a steel head on there.
Oh, man.
Dang.
It weighs 21 ounces, but it's got a nice ergonomic grip on it. But my favorite part, like truly my favorite part about this, is our pin starter, magnetic pin starter that's integrated into the handle.
Okay.
So it'll work on everything from, we pulled pins for 1911s to Glocks to SIGs to Springfields, ARs, AKs, shotguns. We have everything in here, so you can put some of the larger pins in this guy, and then everything else fits in here. And then now you can actually get all of your pins started with whatever in that you need, and then you can come back and finish them.
All right, take my money now.
Yeah, that thing is awesome. Well, now I stand corrected as a hammer's a hammer. So with that, you said long range shooting. We had a guest on a couple weeks back, and he's a long range guy, really big into it, does a lot of training. And one of the most, I guess when we said, hey, what are your best tips for new long range shooters? And he said, well, the number one thing that he sees that people fail at is that they've got a cant on the rifle, or they have a cant on the optic. And just looking at what you guys offer, you guys have quite a few different things, and we don't have to get into them, but I like how you guys have, just a standard scope mount, and then you have, a master mount, and then you have the level right. Like it seems like, and I can see why you are out till 2030. You're finding the shortcomings or the gaps between
Yeah.
tools, and it's giving you the ability to create another one.
Yeah, I mean that's what we're looking for. We have our biggest shooter we have is actually Doug Koenig. He's a world class shooter, world champion. He has the most Bianchi Cups by 12 or 13. Nobody else came close to him, but he shoots long range. He shoots production, and he and I had a great conversation about our Level Right Pro because my thing was when I first saw Level Right Pro, it was created like 2 years before I started here, and they called me in, and I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. So they actually let me take it home and play with it, and I redid all of my optics because they were all off. Like, and in three gun, you don't see that often, right? Like, you don't like a couple of degrees off. You're not really going to see that impact unless you're at a major match. Like, you're not going to see like, oh, my optic was off. That cost me. But you go to a long range match, and your first stage, if you're off by a degree or 2 degrees, you can miss that target by half an inch to the right or left or low or whatever it is, and never know exactly what was going on. So the Level Right Pro is phenomenal. I've actually, seen guys throw it on all sorts of stuff and find out that their rifle, their optic is canted a little bit. They fix it and they're back up and running. So pretty cool. The way it works is that you create one level plane between your rifle and your optic. We use a flashlight, which we call a projector. It shines from the front from the front all the way out to the back, and it displays your reticle onto a grid that has a bubble level on it. And then you have the bubble level up above the projector. So you make sure those are perfectly level. And then you can actually spin your Level Right Pro right or left to get the grid to match up with your reticle, tighten everything down, and you're up and running.
Man, that's awesome.
Dude, I love that. Here's what I also love, and you mentioned car stuff a little bit while ago. I want to go back to that because a lot of times we know working on cars, it's frustrating because engineers build cars, mechanics work on cars, and there's a gap there when you're trying to get a bolt out somewhere. Happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
But I love the fact that the tools you're building, they're not just built by engineers. I'm sure there's engineers, but they're built by shooters. Like
the idea comes from a shooter.
Right. We're getting that idea from shooters, not just, hey, this engineer thinks this is a good idea. So you guys are getting feedback from shooters, from probably gunsmiths, and the end user. What does the end user need? Not what the engineer feels is best.
Correct. Yeah. So I've always thrown this out there, like, they're for shooters by shooters is kind of the whole premise behind that, right? Yeah. I mean, like we have our product engineers, and there's a lot of times like a product engineer will get a certain project that he's going to work on for the next year, and he doesn't have enough experience with that. Well, we're loading up and we're going to the range, or we're going to tear something down here in the studio or whatever it is, and we're going to make him work on it, and we're going to walk him through everything we're doing so he can now take that back to him whenever he's drawing everything. And then, as soon as he gets his first drawing up, he pitches it to us. We get Doug on the phone. We'll bring in some of our pro staff guys. We'll bring them into the studio, get them hands-on, working on some stuff to make sure, like, I'm not stuck in my bubble of, like, I've only been shooting long range for, the past 2.5 years and not touched a pistol. I don't want to, kind of miss out on something. So we bring everybody in a bunch of different disciplines, from the guy that's just your everyday average hunter to Doug Koenig, who's a, 21-time world champion. And we, put everybody's heads together to make sure we're going the right direction so we don't miss anything.
I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. So if we've talked a little bit about the AR Master Kit. That's definitely one of your top sellers, I would think.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, and that's that's probably the breakout tool in your opinion that kind of put Real Avid on the map. If you had to, I guess let's just kind of talk about a top 5 list, and I think we can kind of go through them. We've got the Armorer's Master Kit in there. What's another tool that is one of your top 5 in popularity or must-haves in your opinion for the regular shooter?
Yeah, well, we're going to start first with this thing that's right here to my right. It is my number one tool. Not only is it in the top 5, it's one of our top sellers, but I have 3 of them because it's the go-to tool for me. So this is our Armor's Master Vise. We introduced it in 2020. Horrible year to drop anything because it was COVID. But the really cool thing about it is it's your first ball and socket that will spin 360 degrees and it will lock into a bunch of places. But I can also drop it down and lock it in a couple different places. Now, when I said it's the first ever one that spins like that, the part that's actually the first ever one is that as I spin it and stuff, I can actually come back in with this pin. This is our torque lock pin, and I can lock it down. And now this vise will handle up to 100 foot-pounds of torque. And then I can rotate it every 90 degrees because what we did was we put a, do I have that out here? I do not. Okay, we put a, can you grab me that, please? Sorry, I got my camera guy helping me here.
Oh, dude, he's working overtime.
Yeah.
I love this. Love this.
I get over.
So here's the ball that goes in there. And on the bottom of it, we have these two grooves that intersect with each other. So I can rotate it 90 degrees and pin it in, and it'll still handle 100 foot-pounds of torque. But I can also drop it down and pin it in this position as well.
Man, it's just looking at that, just looking at the ball and the slot that you cut in on that. It's made, it's so simple of a design, but it's kind of one of those you look back and you're like, damn, why aren't all of them made like this?
Yeah.
I mean, and I'm glad they're not. I mean, that's good for Real Avid, but it's just like, man, why isn't this the standard? I mean, that I love mine. I've got a Master Vise. I love that. And yeah, some of my favorite things on it, one of those is definitely the articulating. The second is that big red switch right there. That is my favorite.
Yeah. All right. So for everybody that hasn't played with this or seen this, so this is our leveling knob. So it allows me to rotate the head right or left 3 degrees. So I can throw my rifle, my pistol, whatever it is in there, but let's go to the rifle. I'll throw my rifle in here. I throw my bubble level, my Level Right Pro onto the rifle, and I see I'm off just a little bit. I can actually rotate it right or left and level out my rifle without having to remove my rifle or, barely undo the ball and socket on the bottom here.
Reset, shim it, find
Yep.
something.
Yeah.
It's like, because, we all do that. If you don't have the articulating vise, and you just have a regular vise and you put it on there, the only true answer is you're going to have to break those jaws free.
Yep.
Just so you can shim it. And if it's a regular vise, maybe you've got rubber jaws, maybe you've got plastic jaws, but most likely they're metal and it's wrapped in a towel. And so you got to go back and you got to see, did I really rotate it enough? And you never know, and you end up giving up, and that's how you get that slight cant that you only see at distance that we just talked about.
Yeah. Now, the other cool thing about this is that these are our jaws. They are reversible. So one side is a neoprene foam. The other side is just a glass-filled nylon. Got grooves in there. This top groove is probably my favorite thing because I can run my Arca Swiss or my Picatinny will fit in here on any of my ARs or bolt guns, and even my like my carry guns or anything like that that have a groove for the light. They'll all fit in here, so I can actually work on my firearms just using these jaws right here.
And you told me because I was talking to you about it offline, and I was like, yeah, I've got that, Dustin. I love this. And he was like, do you have the other jaws? And I'm like,
Yeah, I do.
I was like,
So
other jaws, and you were like, dude, you're missing out.
These jaws right here are leather ones. Now, what happened here was I was in Sparta, Illinois at the World Shotgun Championship. I don't know which one it is. 2 miles of nothing but trap houses. It was just crazy and an amazing experience. But I was hanging out with one of the top shotgun gunsmiths in the world, and he's like, hey, I love these jaws, but I want leather. So we came back and we took these jaws, we removed the foam, and we put leather in there. So if you got a $20,000 shotgun, which I do not, but if you have that, these jaws will work great for you on that. Then for me, I have a lot of suppressors. Some of them come apart. I need to clean them. But I'm also pulling barrels a lot. I'm shooting through barrels. So I was like, hey, what can we make that's really going to hang on to a barrel that's tight? So these are our tube fit jaws. So one side is just a steel insert that's grooved or serrated type groove inserts. And they'll just kind of clamp together really nice. And then the other side is a rubber grooved that's going to work really great on grabbing that suppressor, so you can take it apart, but it's not going to dent that suppressor. But it grips it enough you can take it apart.
Yes.
So these are phenomenal to have as well. But my favorite jaws of all, and I own a bunch of them, are the multi-fit jaws. So for me, I've got the Betsy type vise. You know, I when I was building at JP, that's what I got used to. So I have 2 of those in my garage, build off of those. But I was able to always change out my jaws. So if I needed to work on any household items, or my daughter who likes, come in there and mess with stuff, I needed a bunch of grooves. So we came out with these that are completely rubber overlaid nylon jaws. One side is a textured flat surface, and on the other side we have a bunch of different grooves at a bunch of different sizes that will work really well for anything from barrels to suppressors to gripping onto odd ends, anything like that you may have around the house. So these are my go-to jaws. I use these on everything. Been a huge fan of them, and these are actually our number 1 selling jaws. We cannot keep these in stock. So that lets me know everybody that's bought a Vise has now been buying these as well.
I mean, why not? I mean, you have the Vise, because you have the Vise, and I fell in love with it. I want one now because, like, and then you show me the other jaws. He's like, wait till you see what he has to offer. I'm like,
Yeah,
that's awesome.
It's like, man, they're must-haves. And I mean, when it comes to that stuff, it's going to allow you, you AK goons over there, you can actually, put a little more tension on your wooden stocks.
Leather is really common, especially in the AK world. A lot of the specialty jaws for all kinds of vices. There's not a whole lot of stuff specifically for AKs in a vise, and so like a lot of builders you'll see with an old leather belt that they stuff a chunk in there and squeeze it closed, and so those leather jaws got me excited.
Yeah, we got you, all of you AK guys, taken care of here. You still won't hit your target, but we'll definitely help you work on them.
We won't scratch the finish.
Yeah. Isn't that the whole part of having an AK, is like you can scratch it and you don't feel bad? Like,
I mean, AKs have got, I don't want to go off on too much of a tangent, but yeah, all my Romanian AKs are pretty scratched up. My Bulgarians and my Russians I try and keep nice.
okay,
Just
all right.
collectability, but yeah.
I got an AK friend, and man, he gets all into it. He's got all sorts of stuff. I just like to give you guys a hard time.
For sure.
So kind of stay into the Vise here, because these are all the things that I would say are a go. It's the next is going to be our lug lock. Now our lug lock does come in I call it AMK, but that's Armor's Master Kit. Then we also have an Armor's Master Kit Pro. But this lug lock is aluminum. It's going to slide into the barrel extension. But the biggest thing for me is that I can actually take this red knob out and I can pin my receiver here. Now, quick story for you guys. John Paul, the founder, creator of JP Rifles, him and I are getting ready to fly out to Arizona to shoot the Superstition Mountain 3-Gun Championship. It's the longest running 3-gun match in right now, I think like 25 years or something. And so he built a new rifle. He had it Cerakoted. He had a brand new US optic sent to him. Everything was on there, and he looks at it and he's like, hey, Dustin, can you just turn the comp a little bit back? Because when I shoot, I want it to push into my left hand. So let's, time the comp a little bit. I was like, yeah, John, not a problem. He's like, all right, get done with that. Meet me in the car. We're going to head to the airport. I'm like, cool. So we're using another brand's we'll just call theirs a lug lock as well. But we were using theirs that's very similar to this. And you'll see we have these holes in here, and that's so I can take some pins and I can actually pin it in a vise and it won't slip, because I grabbed John Paul's rifle, put it in there. I put our tool that was made for these brakes, and I turned it a little bit, and that rod slipped like this, and the rifle upper receiver slid off, bounced on the comp, upside, and then went upside down and landed right on the brand new optic, and then slid across the floor. So I had to go grab John Paul and let him know that we had to make some changes to his rifle, because that one was not going with him to a match.
For sure.
Oops. So he walks in and he goes to every bench. And there's only 4 people that build at JP. And he goes everybody's bench. He grabs their rod. He goes over to the torch, cuts them all in half, throws them in there, says, I'm going home to grab a new rifle. Be ready for me in 30 minutes because we're leaving. It's like, cool, John. Will do. So I come back, and we didn't talk. Like, we didn't talk all the way to Arizona. Like, it was just like we flew there, got to a hotel, didn't talk, nothing. It wasn't until the next day we started talking again. But anyways, I come back, and the head engineer here at Real Avid calls me. He's like, hey, Dustin, you got a second to swing down to our office? I want to show you something. I'm like, sure. So like I walk in, and on his computer screen is a drawing of this. He's like, yeah, so we know this one company's, it slides all over the Vise. I'm like, guys, like you should have had this, came out with this last year. You would have saved me a lot of time.
Yes.
So this is the lug lock. Pretty cool. We've got the holes in here so we can actually pin this in a vise. But on our mastered gun vise here, what we did was we took it a step farther. So the pins that actually hold my jaws in, I can actually slide them in here and pin my lug lock down to my vise. And actually I can bring this down so you can see the pins here. Now they're running right here. So I can actually pin it and then tighten this down, and now this is all one piece. It's going to be
pin it and spin it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. So it's a really top feature of mine. We have it in AR-10 as well. Somewhere I don't have all my tools in here. Sorry guys, but we do make this rod for an AR-10 as well. So huge fan of this. And then the last thing for the vise, which is a must for me, is going to be our Smart Fit Vise block. So this Vise block will slide into your AR receiver. And then we know there's a bunch of different tolerances on AR receivers in the magwell. So we can tighten this down, and we got a shim that will slowly come down, and it opens up, and it will give you a tight fit inside of your receiver so you don't get any slop in that receiver when you're working on it. It's not moving around or anything like that. And then on our vise here, what we did with our jaws was we actually cut a little depression in there so it will drop down. It countersinks into the vise so you can actually get a more positive grip on the vise block, and then you can throw your upper receiver or your lower receiver on here or your complete rifle and work on it, level optics, whatever it is you need to do.
Yeah, I love that. I use that vise. That vise is so versatile, and everyone that has one knows what I'm talking about. And for those that don't, you tell them the price, and I mean, are they a little pricey? And I say that compared to everybody gives you the Harbor Freight,
Yeah.
Like, yeah, of course it's more expensive. But if you look at the versatility you get, and you look at the engineering that went into this, and you look at the benefits of having this, it's a buy once, cry once type thing. And like I said earlier, just trying to level an optic, go buy that Harbor Freight vise, do it, and then wrap your stuff in a towel and do it. Start trying, and then you got to shim the vise, or you got to shim the rifle and all that.
Yep.
You're going to spend 10 times longer. And at that point, when it comes to tools, I always tell people, what is your time worth to you? If your time is worth $5 an hour, then buy whatever you want. But if your time is valuable, I only get 24 hours in a day, and I can't spend that all on rifles. I've got wife, I've got kids, I've got work, I've got responsibilities.
You got us.
I got you, rejects. So it's it's one of those things, like, I'm not special, but my time is expensive because it's very valuable to me. So if I can buy this thing, it's going to allow me to do all the stuff I want to do in a fraction of the time, and it's going to be repeatable.
Yeah. One other thing, I'm a huge AR-10 guy. I actually like AR-10s more than I like AR-15s. So we do have a sleeve that will slide over our AR-15 vise block.
When did that come out? I'm just curious.
2022, I believe. Yeah.
Been out a minute, man.
Yeah, I could use that a while ago.
And I absolutely love it. And it works on both AR-10A and AR-10B, so it's kind of cool.
Perfect. Options.
Love
so, So, and then my last thing, and then I'll quit with tools here, unless you guys want to go into more tools. is this guy. I'll be honest, I wasn't a big fan of this, but it is. I do not go to the range without one, so I have the original prototype that I'm still running, and then I got a new one that stays at my house. But this is our Bormax Master Cleaning Kit and mobile workstation. So what we wanted to do
Got one
was
right
give
down
you,
below Matt.
yes,
I was
this
just
thing is phenomenal. It gives you everything you need to work on 22 pistol up to 45 caliber pistol, 223, 556 up to 7.62, 308, as well as 12 gauge and 20 gauge, all in one case. But cool thing is that I can run it like a briefcase where the lid just kind of opens up here, or I can take the lid completely off and I can use it as a parts tray or a drip pan. So inside here, you're going to see our Bormax Master Cleaning Kit. So this is going to be our nickel-plated line of brushes and jags. So the reason we nickel-plated them was we wanted to make sure that a lot of the bore solvents out there, they do start to eat away at brass, and that's how you get that false bluing inside of your rifle when you're cleaning them. So we came out with nickel-plated. We also increased the sizes of all of these. So a lot of times you could go to where you have like, I could run one jag and run it with a couple of different caliber rifles. With these, they are caliber specific because we wanted to make sure we got a lot of surface contact to get very deep, thorough cleaning. So what you're going to see is this is just our standard brush, nickel plated all the way down. It is softer than your barrel, so it's not going to do any damage to your barrel. But then the jag is longer, and everybody gets a little confused by this. But what we were able to do was by making it longer and going to rectangular style patches, what we were able to do is actually offer you 4 times the amount of surface contact when you're cleaning your rifle here. So proprietary type patch, it will actually just pin right over the edge right here. And what we were trying to do is get away from, square patch, circle hole, right? Like we learned this stuff in grade school. So you just pin it over here. It actually is going to wrap around and form a nice circle and actually catch all of your lands and grooves and do a nice, thorough, deep clean. Like I said, 4 times the amount of cleaning with one brush and one jag running through your rifle, which is really nice. But you can get it done a lot faster. We also put in a bore guide. Now, the cool thing about the bore guide is it's spring-loaded. And then we actually made some locks that will clamp in a couple different places. But the locks do work different. So we've got one that is full. We got one that has a cut on it. So what we noticed was on the bore guides, when we were looking at like a spring or a SIG cross, was they got a very narrow ejection port. So we cut a slot in here so it would fit into the cross. Well, by doing that, it actually allowed us to put this in on AR-15s and AR-10s now.
Oh, wow.
So that was like just one of those like really cool lucky things. Like once I found out it worked, I was like, I'll be back. Let me grab my AR. But it also works on long action, short action. And then we contoured our tips. So what I noticed was everybody has like a straight tip. But when you look, like I literally pulled up all the SAMI drawings, like SAMI specs, so SAMI drawings.
Sure.
I pulled every one of those up and was like looking at all the different calibers and like how deep I could get your standard straight tip to go into each chamber.
Right.
And I just didn't like the way it would fit on some of the smaller ones. So I went to the PD team. I was like, hey, man, if we contoured these, could we get a deeper seal, deeper fit based on caliber? Come to find out after we did some testing, we could. So we contoured all of our tips. We have small, medium, and large. Spring loaded, really nice. So that's by itself. You can buy that by itself, but it does come in this kit. Then we came out with a 3-piece cleaning rod. And another thing that we did was, when you're using a lot of cleaning rods, especially 3-piece, 4-piece, 5-piece rods, they like to come apart as you're using them. Yeah. So on the inside of the threads at the very bottom, we put some rubber in there. So when you screw these together, or even putting jags or brushes in there, they're going to push in on that rubber, and then that rubber is going to push back on them. So it's called compression lock. So now we don't have to worry about our rods or our brushes coming loose. Yep. So that's in here. Then we have our AccuGrip steel picks. And now some of these picks are contoured because we spent some time with some suppressor companies, and they pulled their entire baffle system out, and they're like, yeah, we really need to get into this area and clean. So some of these are cut differently to work really well on different angled surfaces. And then some of the guys were laughing at me because I was using some of my plastic picks, and I was putting a patch over the edge, and I was getting in there and cleaning. But they're like, do you ever worry about that poking through and scratching your surface? I was like, yeah. And they're like, well, why don't we round them? And I'm like, fantastic idea. So we do have a pick in here that is completely rounded, so it won't poke through the patches, so you can get into some of those hard to reach areas with the patch.
Nice.
That's big brain move right there.
Yeah, that's huge. Because I would use a sharp one.
Yeah.
And then we got just our smart brushes here. But then I pull this out. I can let it sit inside of my lid.
Like
and inside here, you're going to see.
Yeah. He's like,
do what?
Wait, you're
There's
like
more.
the OxyClean guy. But wait.
I know. I feel like I definitely feel like him sometimes. Can you go to camera 2, please? And then we have our Smart Assist. So Smart Assist is something we came out with a couple of years ago. It's a whole system and conversation all on its own because it works with the Vise, our Master Gun workstation. It has its own mounts, but this one right here has a light.
I love that on this kit.
It is removable. It does have magnetic end on the bottom, so if I drop any screws, I can pick those up. Rechargeable. I have 4 docks, so I can move this to any side that I want it to be, so it doesn't have to be like right in my face. But my favorite part about this is actually the gun yokes that are built in and they pop up. So I can throw, and I literally had everything in here from my Barrett 50 cal sit in here, my 12 gauges sit in here, my side-by-side, my ARs, everything works inside of these jaws. That was like one of the biggest, I guess, obstacles to come across was to make sure like we could get everything in there. So any guy goes wherever he's going could clean his firearm or take it apart to work on it, whatever it is. All built into this one case here.
I love that. Here's why I love it, because a lot of guys see this. I can throw this on the back of my tailgate, and that's all true. But here's where I see all these things, because this is from my side of it. I've lived in an apartment for many years, and there's plenty of guys have garages and they have these work areas, which is awesome. But if you live in an apartment, like, there's not a lot of options. Trust me, I've been that struggle, and I've had to like clamp a vise down to like the end of my kitchen counter, and it's not a good idea. So having some, it's true, been there. So having these tools like this is like gives that guy that is in an apartment or girl the ability to still do the work with not having that true workspace. Yeah.
So here's the cool thing, and I don't share this story that often, but this vise here really came from the Dremel vise, because one of the guys made fun of me because he was like, what do you really build your rifles on at home? And I'm like, we're in Minnesota, so it gets cold and my garage isn't heated. And I'm like, man, I was like, I'll be honest with you. Like when my wife leaves, I pull out a Dremel vise and I clamp it to the kitchen table and I start watching TV and I'm working on my firearm, right? Yes. I was like, the only problem is I can't torque a barrel nut down. Right? So they call me like a year later. They're like, hey, come and check this out. And I still have that original prototype. I have over 100 builds on it. It's still my main vise to this day. Even though I have some other ones out, I still have the original prototype, different colors and everything. It's cool. But it's my go-to vise now since I got rid of the Dremel vise.
That is awesome. Yeah, the cleaning kit was something I was talking to you offline about, but I ordered it because I was so excited. And again, it's one of those things. It's just a couple $100, but if you do the math and you add up all the stuff that you're getting in there, and I mean, you're getting more value buying it all at once. First off, but secondly, it's another one of those things like the armorer's kit. Everything's kept together. You can tell when you're missing something. You can see when something's not quite out of place. The only question I want to ask you, and I'm sure the answer is yes, those proprietary cloths, the cloths for the bore. You can buy more of those replacements on your website.
Yes. Yeah. So we have plenty of replacements on our website because the pistol ones take their own, the rifle ones take their own, and the 22 pistol has its own. But we have all of those on our website. Everything you see that I have here or behind me does live at realavid.com. So you need anything like that, it's definitely there.
So
Dustin, I don't want to get you in any trouble. I don't know what you're allowed to talk about, but you guys already have a super amazing product line. But is there anything that's coming down the line that you're excited about that you can share a little bit of information on?
Yeah. Hang on. I'm trying to think because if I say this, I have to call the patent lawyers tomorrow. So I'm trying to think make sure I don't. Okay. So this is all I'm going to say is you guys, I told you guys, like I've done a deep dive into PCC.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't use my Vise for PCC right now, technically. I mean, I am
Right.
because I have a tool for it right now.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, we're gonna need some sort of
Wink, wink.
yeah, we're gonna need some sort of assistance.
Nice.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
no, I'll be honest. Like, I'm really excited about that. We have some other stuff coming out at Shot Show this year that I'm a big fan of. I've really been pushing for it for a long time. It's nothing big or sexy like these. It's just something I felt like we needed to have in our product lineup. We needed to have this offering, but I also needed something that could easily go with me, whether I'm shooting USPSA, a 3-gun match, still challenge, or a long range match. There's certain things I need to have on me at all times. So we got a lot of cool stuff, but be honest, like 2025 is gonna be a fantastic year.
Sweet.
2026 is truly gonna be the year where, like, if they don't know who Real Avid is, they're gonna know who Real Avid is after 2026. We have product.
Hey,
Now they're teasing us. I
Yeah.
love
Yeah,
They are.
we have a product line right now that I've had an engineer and a design guy working on, and it will be by the time it gets to them, it'll be a complete 2 years, almost 2.5 years.
oh wow.
Wow.
That's huge. I think we all can appreciate the tools. We've all used them here. I can tell you, like I said, through COVID, the toolkit, the armors kit got me to do things in my apartment that I couldn't do normally. So I appreciate what you guys are doing, and the fact you're just trying to make it easier. And that's the thing. Like you're not just engineering things to make things. You're making things to make the job easier. Like anyone can build tools and they'll sell gunsmithing tools, but you're making them just that makes sense.
Well, they're simplistic design.
Yeah.
They're effective. They're easy to use, and I mean, they work. I mean, that's the bottom line.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of stuff, guys. I've pitched. I'm like, because of course I got the entire roadmap right, and like, there's been a time I came in there and I had 27 products on there, and we cut that in half to get to a certain spot, and then I got to go back to the drawing board and come back with new stuff because there's definitely stuff on there where it feels like sometimes we feel like we're just trying to throw something out there, and people are like, well, what are we solving? What are we doing? Like, if we're not really solving a problem, we're not doing anything special because we want to make sure that we're always solving a problem to make it easier for the end users.
Well, I mean, a lot of companies do it. They make a SKU every year to make a new SKU, as opposed to just making something that actually benefits the end user, not just to make something new to fill. Like you said, you mentioned earlier, Cabela's or Bass Pro. Like you have to make new SKUs to fill the shelf to keep your spot, and they'll do that as opposed to you guys making something that actually is going to be beneficial to the end user.
Yeah, it's yeah, I like it. And yeah, like you guys said earlier, I mean, I do get paid by Real Avid, but I was repping Real Avid stuff long before I was at Real Avid. I left JP Rifles to come to Real Avid. That's how much I believe in this brand.
Wow.
And that's awesome. We're about to get to that end of the show, but
So-
what do you got?
Yeah, I got a question for you. Do you have anything, Matt?
I was gonna make a stupid joke. I was about to say, would you say that you were an avid user?
I would say I'm an Avid user.
He's
Yeah.
never heard that
Sorry.
before.
Yeah, that's the first time he's
I
ever
couldn't
heard
pass
this.
it up. Okay, dad joke opportunity. I'm sorry. I'll see myself out.
So I'm assuming you guys did the whiskey part before the windage part.
We're still
Actually,
whiskeying.
today I am water and windage. We were at a pretty big event, and so I may have had plenty of whiskey throughout the week, and so today I'm water and windage.
So I'm just going to say next time we do this, I've got to be there in person so I can enjoy the whiskey part,
Heck yeah.
Well,
and then we can
that's
do the windage before at the range and have fun, and then come back and talk about it then.
I'm definitely down for that. So what I was going to tell you is, or what I was going to ask you is, let's say I'm a new guy that I want to get into firearms because we have a lot of these guys that ask us these questions, and they say, "Hey, I want to." We're just going to be easy. Name a brand pistol, just a brand.
Glock.
All right. Rifle. Name a rifle, not a brand, a platform, not AK.
AR-15.
There you go. All right. You could have said a bolt action, a 1022, whatever you want. Okay. I don't care. We said AR-15. We said Glock. What are some? I have nothing but Home Depot tools. What are some of the must-haves? And I know we went over these, but in your experience, like a buy once, cry once situation, what are those tools that you say, hey, maybe you don't need all this expensive stuff, or maybe you don't need all the big stuff first, but you at least need X.
Yeah, well, we all know most guys that buy a Glock, they're going to change out the sights on their Glock right off the bat. So we make a sight pusher for a Glock. It will work on a single stack to double stack. It doesn't matter. It could be a 10 millimeter down to a 380 or even your 22. It doesn't matter. We have a sight pusher that will work with all Glocks. So rear sight and front sight, because it's got a little 2-in-1 that comes out. So I would say go there for the Glock, just because that's going to take care of a lot of your problems right off the bat. Next thing I'd say is buy our Smart Torque and Master Driver set. What that is going to be a torque driver, just a regular driver, and then we've got a bunch of bits in there that are going to work for your Glock. They're also going to work for your AR. But our driver's also 360-degree lighted bit driver, so you end up using it for household items as well. So I'd say go with that. And then, to stay away from the AMK, the tools I would say are a must-have would be our SmartFit Vise block.
Yep.
And our Armor's Master wrench, because I would be able to change out the stock and things like that, as well as my muzzle device.
So we got the block, we've got the master wrench, we've got the sight pusher, we've got the torque wrench, or the little hand torque wrench. So you get one more.
Choose one more.
You get one more.
Whew. Well, I mean, I might as well get the Vise.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love it.
I think the Vise is for the win.
The Vise is for the win, and I would advise anybody that is out there looking, spend your money how you see fit, and support companies that are out there, innovating and making products for our industry. Definitely spend some of your money with Real Avid. But if someone asked me my favorite tool that is a can't live without from Real Avid, I'm with you, Dustin. I mean, it's the Vise.
Yeah.
The Vise is a can't lose.
As soon as we flew into Nashville this week to be here in person. We all went to an event, and as soon as we came in, Mike was like, "You guys gotta come upstairs and check out the
Vise. Yeah, check out the Vise."
Because I hadn't used one, and we were up there laughing and playing and locking stuff in it like little kids.
Yeah, not your full auto guns, not the full auto HK. Come see the Vise.
That was not the first
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Forget the guns. Come look at the tools. This is the best part.
Yeah. We had a good time playing with them.
Hey, cool thing about it is when the guys first showed me this, I had an AR that needed to be built, and so I was like, "Hey, you guys mind?" They're like, "Yeah, just go ahead and build." So I built on the Vise. I built an AR 15 minutes faster on this first time using this Vise than I ever was able to build a AR at JP Rifles.
Wow.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, it trims efficiency. It makes you more efficient. It trims time, and it's overall a better experience. It's a pleasant experience, and that's what I think is most important. Is if anybody has ever worked on something that they've done it once and it was just hard to do because of either the location of I got to get this bolt out, or I have to use this special tool, and anything. You never want to do it again. So having tools like this makes it a little easier and a little more enjoyable for the user, and it makes them want to stay doing that stuff.
Yeah.
Because gunsmithing isn't cheap. I mean, it's not cheap, and you can't do everything at home, but learn the things you can do and do them well.
Yeah. I've never thought of it like I have a Vise now, and I actually use the Vise, for cleaning my rifles more, just because it's made that process a lot easier. And and I'm never going to say cleaning my rifles is enjoyable because I just don't enjoy it at all. Yeah,
It's
but
the only reason
but
I shoot AKs.
You don't clean them.
Yeah, I know, I gotta clean it.
that's the only thing I can't make fun of you for, right? Like you got us beat on that one.
No.
But yeah, it just makes it where cleaning a rifle is that much easier. It doesn't matter if I've got, a pistol or whatever. My Vise is my third hand. And when I bring in the Smart Assist with the light and I plug it into my Vise, I can do a lot of stuff very fast, very efficiently. And I can spend less time at this bench, more time at the range, which is where I want to be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Hey, Dustin, we're getting about to the end here, but we want to give you just another minute to make sure, tell everybody where they can find Real Avid, socials, website, where they can reach out to you in customer service if they need to.
And go support him doing his shoot.
Yeah, where can they find you?
Yeah, where they can find your personal socials as well, so they can check out your content and go see you shoot.
Yeah. So let's start with Real Avid. We're realavid.com. Social is at Real Avid. We have a Facebook account. On the Facebook, we're putting a bunch of stuff out there. We do a lot of tech tips where I will either be at the range or be at the bench showing you little things that can help you improve your shooting or maybe get the job or the build done a lot faster and a lot easier. Info at realavid.com is a great email to get a hold of me, or you can do D Sanchez at what is it? It's not Real Avid. It's D Sanchez at revobrands.com. That's my direct email. I usually try to get back to everybody within a week, but I do travel a lot for work or for matches, so sometimes it takes me a little longer. But feel free to reach out to me. Also, I work very closely with my camera guy and all the videos and editing. So if you have any questions, you can ask us on any of our social media platforms. He'll come and talk to me, and I'll get with you guys on that. As far as my personal stuff, I'm usually in front of the camera for a bunch of other companies, so my content is not that full, but it is at 2A Dustin, 2A underscore Dustin on social media. That's where you can find my Instagram, and then that'll link you to a YouTube channel. And then every now and then you'll see me share one of my other Instagram things on there, and that's just my personal photography, and that has nothing to do with guns, but it's something to take me away from the industry.
Exactly.
When's the next match, man? When's the next match?
Yeah, so I'm shooting 1,000 rounds downrange a week right now. So I'm shooting one local match every week, and I fly out to Arizona in September 27th, and I'm shooting the JP Enterprises Arizona State PCC Championship.
Awesome.
Nice.
And then I'm going to, in October, I'll be down in Talladega shooting USPSA PCC Open Nationals. And then after that, I'm going to shoot a 2-gun match in Las Vegas. And then January 1st, the rifle that I've been competing with and doing everything with this year is going to get rebarreled, new trigger, new BCG, new SES. And I'm going to give that rifle away with a brand new optics. Case of 9mm from Remington, Real Avid throwing in a bunch of stuff. And then I'm going to build a brand new American flag PCC, and then I'm going to try to make the team for the United States to go over to the Czech Republic and shoot PCC Worlds.
I'm just glad you're not busy. I'm glad you have a lot of free time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds like nice relaxing fall planned.
So without giving away all the trade secrets then, because I know there's going to be a few of those, tell us about your PCC setup, man. What do you run?
Yeah, so I run a JP5. So the cool thing about a JP5, especially if you have an LMP5, is that a JP5 is a delayed roller system based off of the LMP5. So the rollers that JP has in their JP5 can actually be put into an LMP5.
Oh, wow.
The lock pieces can be put into an LMP5. So it has 5 different lock pieces from 120 degrees down to 60 degree. So the easiest way to explain that is like having an adjustable gas block on a direct blowback system. So it's just a JP5 14.5-inch pin and weld. I've got a Burris Fast 4 red dot on top, and then I have a Burris Fast Fire 3 as my 45 degree offset. I run a 50-yard zero on the top on my main, and I run a 25-yard zero on my offset. I'm running 124 grain full metal jacket Remington. Out of it, that's it, man. I say it's nothing special, but it is special.
It's pretty
Yeah,
special.
it's like, hey,
Yeah.
that's nothing, but you know, that's a hell of a rig. That is a hell of a rig.
I'm a big fan of it. I almost brought it here tonight to have in the background, but
Know how that goes.
I just didn't want to pull it out of the case.
Nah, I don't
To be
blame you.
honest with you, but yeah, that is the rifle I'm going to give away too. So come December 1st, all you got to do is be following me, and every time I put up a post and you like it, you're going to get re-entered into my giveaway. You don't have to buy anything. You don't have to do anything. Just follow me, follow some of the companies, continuously like the post. And then January 1st, I'm going to do a drawing, and whoever wins gets the rifle, new optics, the ammo, all the tools, even some tools that will not be released from Real Avid will be thrown in there. I'm going to throw in a couple of different lock pieces so you can run whatever ammo you want to run and go have fun. Oh, and Josh Fralick, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the top PCC shooters in the world. He's actually won Shotgun Worlds for the United States a couple years ago. Phenomenal guy. He's actually given away a free PCC class in stay at his place next year for the giveaway as well. So
Wow.
yeah, there's a and Max Leograndis, who is the number one PCC shooter in the world, is the other instructor. So you have number one and number two teaching you for a full day with free room and board. So pretty good deal.
Yeah, it'd be good. You'd need a week.
Yeah,
but
at least.
A day would make you a little better.
Yeah, facts. Dustin, I can't say enough. We appreciate you coming on Real Avid. We're a big fan of the products. And until next time, man, until SHOT Show, we'll talk to you soon.
Hey, man, thank you guys for having me. Appreciate the support. Like I said, anybody ever needs anything, reach out to me and I'll get you taken care of.
Once again, guys, big thank you to Dustin Sanchez for coming on. Real Avid, awesome tools, awesome products. I appreciate this company. I've been using them for a long time. Mike, what you got?
Man, I thought it was great. I think he is a better cameraman than us. And
Because he has a cameraman.
Did you hear what he said about you? Tripod. Did you hear what he said about you, tripod? So, you know, I think that
Oh God, boys, we got to get through this. Let's start fresh. Nobody wants to wait for 4.5 minutes to try and find the intro.
Yeah.
Did you hear what he said about you, Trump?